Hola, ¿cómo estás? And the title of this video, up there, down there, is I Miss Being Young. And as a curious viewer, you may ask, how young are you? What do you mean? What do you mean that you miss being young? What does that mean, Max? Well, I'm trying to record this all in one go so that I don't have to edit and stuff like that. But the news is that I got old people problems, quote unquote. And you may wonder, what are those old people problems, sir? What are those old people's problems? Like, you're 23. What are you going through, my guy? Well, this video is going to be created for random people that just scroll along this thing, or for people in my life that don't really know what's going on, why I've kind of disappeared, whether that be people that are interested in my music, have ever seen any of my videos, or just anyone in general, even my family, because I haven't talked in depth about it because I've kind of figured out majority of the stuff in recent times because I've been out of healthcare for a while and now finally been able to catch up on all of the old stuff that I didn't really address at an earlier age, like around my 20s instead of 23, like 2 years ago or something. But I have lupus. That is my main condition. My not really main condition. It's just kind of like uh, the precursor to everything else because I got diagnosed with lupus at around 16, 17, I'm pretty sure. And I I dealt with a lot of treatment in that aspect. I had to take um, a medicine that is considered a steroid to help me combat a flare up that was like kind of crazy at the time. And I currently have been diagnosed with um, avascular necrosis in a lot of areas. A lot of areas. I got them in both my ankles. I'm pretty sure both my knees, but mainly my right knee. And I got it in my left wrist. Um, from what I know so far, so far, and it's hard to say the least. It being in pain is not really fun, and dealing with the fact that being in pain this young and that being a unusual thing is also hard. Um, I just want to let it out in a way or talk about it. I've made like 2 or 3 videos talking about this, but I don't really know where I was going with it. And now I'm just kind of in the mindset of kind of just putting my story out there because I don't really see the use in the many messages I was trying to portray or the answers I wanted like answered in general, the questions I wanted answered. But I'm pretty sure most of my condition stemmed from my first flare up when I had lupus in high school. I was in and out of hospitals and stuff like that, whether that be regular hospitals or mental facilities, because of the specific steroid they put me on. I'm pretty sure because nothing really was a big issue until I was put on it. I was put on that, and due to the prolonged use of it, because I was in and out of hospitals, and when you're fun fact, when you're in mental institutions, they suggest to not like change things. So I kind of was like stuck on it for a pretty long time, like a year, close to a year is a long time to be on something like that for something of the nature that I was on it for. And through all that, I mean, I was having issues already with my joints because it was a common thing where I was in NJROTC that I would come home and I would be like, oh, my ankle's hurting really bad. And I'm just assuming it's from all the walking and the marching and the standing and all that. And then I would complain about my knee or something because I was like running one day or doing physical activity, or one day it's my wrist because I was like spinning rifles and stuff. So it was always something going on with my joints, and I didn't really pay much mind to it because, like I said in the beginning of the video, a lot of people view it as old people problems. And when they view it as old people problems, they are kind of suggesting that the pain is normal for the time being because you're not old yet. You should get used to the pain because of the simple fact that you're not old, and since you are not old, you are not capable of having pain that is enough to restrict you from doing something. And that followed through the congruent years, concurring. I don't know the word. I'm illiterate, but the following years of my adult adolescence, I would say, I guess, because like 18 to 23 is kind of like you're still somewhat of a child. So that followed me throughout all that. And um, when I turned 18, I was kind of pushed into, college and working in general because nearing around the time that I turned 19 ish, can't remember the exact timeline, but around that time, my great grandmother had passed. And from that occurrence, I had to step up in a way and take ownership of what she used to have and take care of my own family. I don't have my own kid, but I had to take care of my family nonetheless. And I'm not going to say who, because if you're my family member and you know who I'm talking about, then I don't need to clarify that. But I had to take care of my family, and I instantly went to the workforce. And for me, and my own prerogative of how I wanted to pursue my future life, I really wanted to be active. I wanted to work out. I wanted to skate, as you can see maybe in one of my videos if you've seen that before. I wanted to do manual labor because I enjoyed that labor. I enjoyed being active and doing things and seeing what I'm doing. Kind of like when I first started working, I worked as somebody that works at like a dollar store. I worked at a dollar store and I was stocking, I was doing all that. Then I moved on to a fast food job. From there, I started having a lot of ankle pain from standing and stuff like that. So I just worked out to work out those little kinks in my inability to do things. I was like, maybe I'm just in pain because I need to be stronger. Okay. So I started working out on top of working the hours I was working. Then I realized very quickly that I couldn't work those hours. I ended up uh, lowering my hours because I was putting the problem on lupus because I was just like, wow, I'm always having swollen feet, swollen ankles, my knees are in pain. Maybe it's just my lupus acting up every time I do something like that. Maybe I'm just getting fatigued. So, on top of that, I'm trying to work on my fatigue with working out. And long story short, I lost that job. Not really lost it. I left that job because I wasn't given optimal amounts of rest in general. And for some reason, when you ask or request for rest, sometimes for like a disability or something that just restricts you in general, they like to kind of, what you would call it, they kind of peg you down. Like, At the time when I stated I needed a break, I was like basically taken off the schedule. Like I was like blackballed, and that's what I can say. So I was said, you know what? I still want to do something active. I still want to do hard labor because I like doing hard labor, just not the pain that comes with it, but I like the activity, like the rush you get whenever you pick something up and you're like, yeah, I'm strong. So I moved to a overnight stocking job. I will not say that job because it kind of fucking sucked ass. I was I was there from like 10 to sometimes even like 9 o'clock in the morning. Not often, but usually 8 or 9 o'clock. I would get off, or maybe a little earlier, but just keep in mind it was supposed to end at like 4 or 5 o'clock in the morning. And regardless of how fast I went, and I guess not fast, even though I perceived myself as being as quick as everyone else, I it it always went over, no matter what. Like, no matter what, unless everything was done, you would not be able to leave, type stuff. And it really took a toll on me to a point where not only was it mentally messing with me because of the staffing, but I just kept getting progressively worse with how my condition felt. Like my knees were hurting more. I could barely sleep because of the pain. I just couldn't walk sometimes, even at work, which obviously impacted my workflow and my ability to be as fast as I used to be, because it was like getting to the point where it was like agonizing pain. Then I switched to a lighter set of work in the same job, still stocking and stuff like that. But I was almost daily limping. I was practically like on a time schedule on when my body would start giving out. I would like start my shift. It was only like a 4 hour shift now, instead of like 8 to 10 hours of working. It was it was literally a 4 hour shift, and within the first hour, almost regardless of the workload of that day, I would be limping. Like my right ankle would just not give me the support that I needed to actually functionally do the job, to the point where I left that job as well. I went to another fast food job, but it made it worse because if you haven't worked in fast food, it's a lot of walking quickly. It's a lot of getting things, going back and forth, rushing things out. And with the amount of having to get something quickly and shooting out to do something else, it like my ankle was constantly, going like this and going that way. It was it was worse than ever before, honestly. I can't even compare it because it's just a gradual progression of pain, and I just didn't understand. I At this point, after I started even the first stocking job. I mean, not the first one, the second one, the one that I was just talking about. Um, at that time, when around that time when I started those jobs in general, I stopped having health care because things happened. Let's say that things happened, and I wasn't eligible for what I was under anymore, and so I couldn't afford going to see a doctor because I wasn't told that I lost coverage, and then I went to an appointment and I got a $700 bill for just an appointment with a pre-existing doctor that I have. So after that, I just said, no, I'm not going to the doctor anymore because I can't even work enough to cover that and pay bills, let alone continuously keep checking up on my health and keep racking up those $700 appointments. No. So at that point, I was still out of luck with healthcare. And even though I got healthcare through my job, my pre-existing doctors didn't take that healthcare at that time. So I was paying for healthcare on top of all the work I was doing, and I was getting nothing from it because even though I had healthcare, it wasn't covered by my doctors. And then I got injured. This is completely on a side note from away from like my actual disability in general, but I got injured, and after that, I was blackballed again because I was going from 20 hours a week, which I can somewhat do, even though it was agonizing. Still, it was horrible. I still felt like I was capable of doing it, regardless of how painful it was. But I went from 20 hours to 10 hours, and then I was basically barely scraping by. I was paying like $60 per paycheck, on top of the fact I was only getting $200 a month, like not a month, every 2 weeks, basically. It was actually the most horrendous time for my finances to ever exist, because of the simple fact that it was just that bad. And I couldn't even get healthcare on top of that. So I just left because I couldn't even get out of it. Couldn't even get out of the fact that I was paying for that healthcare unless I left, because my reasonable reason wasn't reasonable enough for them to stop making me pay $60 per paycheck for that. After I left there, I went to my most recent job, which I loved until I just couldn't do it anymore, because it got to the point where every single day I was to the point where sleeping was the hardest thing in my day to do. Like, going to sleep with the amount of pain after coming home from work was the most horrendous pain I've ever witnessed, to the point where I was on the verge of crying every freaking night. Every night. And at this time, I was getting my appointments because I finally got healthcare. Finally. And I first found out that my doctors were concerned about the fact that my joint pain wasn't in direct correlation to any flare ups. Like, my lupus was doing fine, but I'm constantly having this pain. And eventually I was like complaining about this wrist or whatever. And they gave me an x ray. Come to find out, I had a fracture. And the fact that this fracture happened years upon years prior, they were concerned because of the simple fact that it never healed. A fracture in my wrist just never healed. So my doctor was like, well, we're going to have to get like a CT or something to see if there is some type of necrosis, because we don't know what's going on. It's not to do with lupus. Cool, got it. Couldn't get the CT because this doctor wasn't that great for me. I'm not gonna say who, and I'm also not gonna talk more crap about it, because it's just is what it is. They didn't pay enough attention to what they were writing, and they put it on the wrong hand. Great. So I kept meeting with other doctors, and I talked about more of my other problems and stuff like that. And other doctors set me up for scans on my ankles. Pretty sure it was still like, I think it was just more CT or MRI, something like that. I don't remember if it was an MRI first, but they put me through some imaging, and they found out that I had necrosis in my ankles. And I'm pretty sure they checked my knees as well at the same time. So they gave me all of that info all at once, really. And then from there, they were like, well, we'll just kind of see what's happening. But in my mind, I'm already knowing, thinking about all of the things I've done to just make this worse. Shouldn't have, but when I come back to think about it, I should have just stopped when I felt the pain. Because When I looked it up, obviously it is a condition that can not really be fixed unless you go through surgery. Even then, it's not like the condition is going away. It's not. Just it's just not how it works. I just assumed that you can get bone marrow or something, and it could just change everything. It'll be fine. But that was not one of the treatment plans. So after that, they went to the next gear, further imaging to see the extent of the damage. And I had found out that it was stage 4 of necrosis, which is pretty much right next to arthritis. I'm basically at the worst point in stages before arthritis. And to be honest, I felt it because I had to walk to work a lot of the time before I recently got my car that I saved up for. And I remember distinctly one time where I was walking to work and I tweaked my ankle. Thought nothing of it and just kept working because I always tweak my ankle. Almost every day, every couple days, every week, I'm tweaking my ankle. So what's the difference now? Could have been the reason why this next thing happened, but I was in pain and agony for 2 straight weeks of just nonstop having to walk to work as well while barely being able to walk. It was I would I would say the most painful 2 weeks of my life. I've never felt as much pain as walking to work with basically a broken foot. Because come to find out, after imaging, I have a full collapse within my right ankle, which warrants either 3 treatment options, partial fusion, a full fusion, or injections and stuff like that. Or you could just leave it alone, which I'm not going to do because I can't I can't deal with it. But that tore my heart. It tore my heart, to say the least, because I take pride in my abilities to do things in general, despite the severe challenges it brings. But with the pain coinciding with what I know it is, I know that I can't do as much as I dream to do, in a sense, which sucks. Like, if it really sucks, and I can't really put that in a lighter way, because a lot of my life and what I strive to do has been like right beside just being physically able. Like, I love working out, even though it's painful. I love working out because I love the feeling you get when you work out. I just don't like the pain with working out. But I love seeing like progress in general. I love being one of the best at work. I just love being good at things in general. And I feel like that kind of stopped my idea of what I can be good at in general. Because honestly, after finding out, I just know that anything more can just make it just that much worse. So after all that, um, I was just kind of clenching my cheeks, trying to hope that this wrist didn't have the same fate. Hoping, because I like to make music, and admittedly, making it hurts because of my wrist. I just don't want another thing. You know what I mean? Like, if you are being told that this is wrong with you, that is wrong with you, and the third's wrong with you, you would just hope for not another thing to be wrong. But I have found out that I have not only necrosis, but a specific type, in a sense, that's called King Bach but whatever. To say the least, it's just like a bone, which is pretty much decayed inside of my wrist, right around here, and it's like spreading the bone particles all around my wrist. So whenever I use my fingers and I bend it, like I have somewhat range of motion, even though this one's better, obviously. But moving it backwards hurts. Moving my fingers hurts after a long time. If not even a long time, as long as I'm doing something that requires force, it hurts. Um, and yeah, found all of that out, and it sucks. I am focused on more to like. I'm focused on what's to come next, and I don't really know what. I really don't know. Um, I don't even know if I can do a desk job because it hurts so much to type when I do type because I was killing it on Nitro Type trying to see if I can, you know, be one of those techies that can do it, fast and cool and all that. But even that hurts. But all that to say that I miss being young, blissful, and able in a way. And you're not too young to experience old people stuff. Being told that low key kind of perpetuated my thought that it was nothing wrong. But there was. So, to anyone out there that is struggling with the idea of maybe being disabled at some young age, whether that be my age or a little bit younger, just know that you're not delusional, you're not crazy, and you're not overreacting. Because I truly thought that for 3, 4, 5, maybe. I thought that since high school. I thought I was overreacting. And I was consistently told I was overreacting. And I was not. Not only is the necrosis bad here, but this was an injury from high school. It's septic in a way. I don't know what that means because I haven't looked into it. I'm tired. Tired of looking into what's wrong with me because it just keeps getting worse with the information. But this has been going on since high school, and I was consistently told to ignore over and over and over until now. I have two surgeries that I have to make a choice on, one for my ankle and one for my wrist. And the hardest part is to figure out what I'm going to preserve first. Like my ability to drive places, to make it to appointments, or my ability to make music or to do things in general around the house or whatever. Like I'm still grappling with the fact that it can just go wrong, especially because of my lupus. And I feel like, though I'm hoping not to like feel like I'm at fault, because I know that's kind of not um, constructive, but I just wish that I would have listened to my intuition earlier instead of thinking everyone else was right. Because even at the tail end of it, I was consistently told by older people, you know, you're way too young to have that. You're way too young to have arthritis. You're way too young to be in pain like this. You're way too young. You're way too young. You're way too young. And now I am going through potential surgeries because I was just told to ignore it. to pick myself up by my bootstraps and just deal with it, you know? And I was okay with doing that because I felt value within making other people happy around me because that's my job. My job is to work for somebody and make them feel happy and make them proud of me doing everything. And that resulted in a lot of neglect towards my own health. And I don't want anybody else to have to go through that. So if you feel like you have something going on with yourself that you know you may be too young to be going through it, but you know for a fact something is wrong, get checked. It doesn't matter about the bills. You could just go into debt, deal with that crap later, you know? Like, from my knowledge, medical debt is not going against your credit. Just get checked. Just get checked. Do your due diligence and tell your doctor what's going on because I I truly don't think this is the end of me discovering what's wrong with me because I still have pain in other areas in general. And I don't ever talk about my pain like that because, for one, people don't want to hear about it and they always, tell me I'm too young. And two, if I don't know exactly what it is, I'm not going to express it. And that's kind of how it was for the past couple of years where I know there was something wrong, but I can't really say what's wrong because if you don't have anything to say about what's wrong, then they're just going to be like, it's no big deal. You're too young to have this, that, and the third, you know? So I know this is probably not the end of my journey of figuring out what's going on with my body. And it's definitely not the end of me dealing with the hardships of just being disabled in the way that I am. But I know for a fact this is the end of me ignoring it. Definitely. And I feel like this should be something that a lot of other people acknowledge and take to heart because just because you're young doesn't mean you're too young to deal with anything. It doesn't matter what it is. You could be the rare case like me because there's not many 20-year-olds that are going through ankle fusions. I know that because when I look it up, there's only like one young person and they're not even 20. They're like maybe in their 30s and then it's all the way up to like their 40s and 50s and stuff like that. I'm just one of those cases where it's just like it's gotten so bad so early. And just because they have a range of how like old somebody can get something or develop something doesn't mean that you aren't a trooper and a prodigy at developing it like me. Just pay attention to your body. Like, if there's anything you could take from this video is pay attention to your body, stand on what you know, and stay committed on keeping yourself healthy because that lack of commitment for 2 3 years really really put a damper on a lot of progress that could have been made. I could have slowed down the process earlier if I would have just listened to my body and not thought what everybody was saying. I could have gotten ahead of it. And I don't say that to say, oh, I'm just fucking stupid. Sorry. But I don't say that to be like, yeah, I'm just stupid. I should have done this and done that and the third because the past is the past and the present is the present. And now that I know everything that's going on with me, I just don't want anybody else to feel like I did. But yeah, that's all I have to say. And I hope you've learned something. If anything, listen to yourself. But yeah, being old sucks. I love every single one of y'all. I hope y'all have a good day. Even if I don't know you, you deserve the world. Be safe, be healthy, drink water. And I'll see y'all in maybe another video if I choose to make one. I'm usually off grid, but peace out.